So training through or training around?
Yes. In your opinion?
In my opinion, it depends on the severity of the injury. Some injuries are like so minor that you can train through them. But when we're talking about an injury, I'm thinking like something that's actually going to like impede your ability to move, impede your ability to like do things. And in that situation, then you got to try to train around it. You know, there's a good example. One of the reasons why my side control escapes got really good was because I was training around an injury. It wasn't a bad injury, it was a tweak, but I couldn't drive off my leg. So I couldn't I couldn't do like a good bridge. And so that takes away a lot of the options that you have away from bottom escapes.
Yeah.
And so what I started doing was I was like, I'm just gonna lay here on my back and I'm gonna see how long I can slow people down. I was balling up and keeping my arms really tight. And what was neat is I got really good at just doing this. Like for my frames, I got really good at just making frames all the time. I was like, oh man, if I do a really good job of putting my hands together, then it's really hard for them to submit me. Huh. Imagine that, build frames. It takes it every day in Jiu-Jitsu when you're in the beginning. It took me like, I was a brown belt at the time when I realized it. But that was an instance where I worked around it because I didn't drive off my legs. I was just laying there flat on my back and just doing this. You know,
I had a similar thing, and I actually just mentioned it on the previous video, and that was when I had my arm injury. I fractured my arm. So when I came back, I was still not quite 100%. So I trained around it. So I did the opposite. I worked on guard retention. I worked on closed guard, on submissions from closed guard, how to re-guard and regain and do all this stuff and work on leg dexterity and all this shit like that. So it was totally the opposite too. And so yeah, I said that there's probably some exceptions, which could be, you know, if you've been training for this huge tournament and you've got an injury that you can kind of work with, it's not getting better, it kind of gets irritated, and you've been training for a long time and you're one of the, you know, top level guys, and it's just,
well, I mean,
anybody, put a lot of time in. And,
I mean, anybody, like, anytime I had a big event coming up, like a fight, jiu-jitsu tournament, whatever it might be, anytime I've had a big event coming up, I've never went in 100% like with injury free. I always had little dings and dangs. You know, it's like your body it accumulates its stuff through the hard training sessions. And so then it's like, you know, you go in there, you do the best you can. But you know, that's, to me personally, that's why you should, if you're getting ready for a competition, you have it in your line of sight and it's out there, you should start with first really building up your engine, right? So like your first phase of training, like maybe 10 to 6 weeks out, should be like really getting your cardio up, building up that cardiovascular. And then as the training gets closer, you can really start to ease up on the gas pedal and really start to drill. You know, still maintaining like a good hard training sessions, but maybe easing up a little bit. So this way, because like for instance, I see people when they're training and they're training like up to the last week of their competition, and then they get injured or they're hurting themselves. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you're not.
Do you know why that is? It's anxiety.
It's anxiety. Well, it's because
like feeling you're not going to be prepared enough.
Right, exactly.
It's all mental at that point.
It's a mental thing, but the thing is, you're not like if it's Monday and you're competing on Saturday. If you keep your diet in check, if you go do some drilling, get a little light sweat, there's nothing like, you're not going to get any cardiovascular benefit that last week. I mean, your body, whatever you're there, you're ready to go. Now, I think that priming your body for doing the movements and the techniques that you're going to use is good. But I think as far as putting your body through the grinder, you'd be best suited. And I personally felt this as I've gotten older. I rest a lot more the week of, and I feel amazing on Saturday, because it's like you got this damn racehorse that's been like stuck in a stall for a week, and it's like, I want to go.
It's almost like you have some pent up energy.
Yes, you know, because think about, like, have you ever had like a really hard training week where you basically train super hard, and it's like the whole week goes by, and it's like almost like if I have this thing here, it's like the week starts off here. Every day I pour a little bit out. Now we feel a little bit out through the recovery, but it dumps out more. By the end of the week, we're down here in the bottom. Take a couple days off or a day off, and all of a sudden you're back up here ready to go. And so the same thing's true. Like when you go to a competition, you want to be pent up. You don't want to be tired. You don't want to be like, oh my God, I'm so exhausted. You want to go out there and be like, God, I freaking can't wait to be back on the mats. You know, and for me that's been really helpful. So it's an anxiety thing, because you're like, oh, am I like, you know, losing something, like. But that's just being neurotic. Like, you know, you'd be better off stretching and you know, doing some drilling, really priming those movements, but being very easy on the body, so you can sort of build up that tank that you have, that tank of energy, and then go out there and just dump it out that whole day. Yeah,
I've seen, you know, as far as you talk about the recovery aspect, like it seems like, you know, when we're younger, less recovery, older, more recovery, more. And just you have to put so much more time in outside of the mats. now.
You do.
I think you just have to be smarter.
If you're smart,
Yeah.
You know. Now the thing is and the thing is like young people, like a lot of times they won't. If they could put the recovery in early,
Yeah.
they would last even that much longer. But a lot of times what ends up happening is it's like because you're young and you don't feel like you need it, you're not gonna do it.
Well, you don't, but there's underlying shit. Like you think.
Well, no.
You think you don't.
You don't think you need it. What I'm saying is you don't have like the pain of an injury to say, oh, I need to stretch.
Yeah,
I need to do a cool down stretch.
Yeah, what happens because it's a long-term process. It's like a
long-term breakdown.
It's kind of like, you know, a river being formed. You know, you're breaking down,
Yeah, the
breaking
water
down.
rushes across.
and then
the
eventually it like breaks through.
Sure.
You know, and so like.
Well, it's like you know you think about like how that water works. The water's going,
Yeah.
and slowly like little bits and pieces
Chips
of the rock
away.
are chipping
Yep.
away. Before you know it, this thing's opened up super wide, and I mean that's typically where a lot of people's injuries come from. It's not like a one-time thing.
Yeah.
It was this chronic overuse that eventually leads to the the breakdown of that particular tissue or whatever it might be.
He's doing the wrong shit for a prolonged period of time. Eventually, kind of.
And that's the thing with jiu-jitsu, we do a lot of the wrong stuff for bodily health. Like so we round our back and we tighten our hips, and so it's so important to like do the opposite stuff to like strengthen that upper back.
It's the same thing,
extend those hips and basically maintain the overall integrity of the body.